I remember the days when I had a counselor that I could go to and knock on the door and he'd be readily available for me. That's not existent anymore. So there's a few measures that we need to take, and some of those, for example, is investing obviously in education as a whole, investing in qualified teachers that understand English language learners, that are willing to work with English language learners, but as well as coaches in English language development departments, for example, as well as in counselors.
Thank you very much. What has to be done in order to help to lower the dropout rates in the schools? ¿Qué es lo que se tiene que hacer para ayudar a disminuir la deserción escolar de las escuelas?
What we have to do to lower the dropout rate is that we have to be creative on keeping kids engaged in the public schools. And some of the things that we are doing is that we're bringing back vocation. There are kids who go to school because they want to be involved in auto shop. There are kids who want to go to school and they want to become working with wood. They want to do alternative energy is another area that we're expanding. These are the kind of things we have to bring back to get kids connected. Sports. Some kids stay involved because they want to stay involved with the football program. We need to have those kind of incentives, and we need to be creative on keeping kids engaged. What we also have to do is follow up and go out to the neighborhoods where kids are not coming in. Sometimes because our families are in distress, their kids are staying home taking care of sick kids. We need to keep those kids engaged in school because if they don't get connected early on, we're going to lose them and they're going to drop out. If we don't, some of them get frustrated because they can't keep up. We need to also have the alternative education. When those who are struggling, people learn differently. Males, boys learn differently. They just have a different way of learning, and sometimes you've got to set them aside and be creative in getting them connected to the schools and being more creative and offering more avenues for their education, keeping our kids connected and keeping them involved.
Thank you very much.
Foremost, I think it's important that we have strong ties. Our educational systems have strong ties with our families and our communities. The most important teacher that any child can have are their parents. We need to do a better job in our educational system of reaching out to the parents and letting the parents know that it's also their responsibility. Letting the parents know that they are the primary teacher, especially because of the fact that the children are being raised in their homes. So we as an educational setting, we need to reach out to the parents on an ongoing basis. I also believe that it's important that we make education relevant to the students. There's some students that want to go on a higher education. Let's continue to do that. Let's provide higher education opportunities for our kids. But there are also students that perhaps want to go into vocational education. They might be willing to become electricians. And by being an electrician, for example, they still can get a good paying job and take care of their families. I'm proud that in the Shawnee Unified School District that we have an academy structure. We have an academy structure, such as the Teachers Academy, for example. We have a Hospitality Academy. We have a Health Academy. And what happens there is that students receive the theory in the classroom, and they receive the practical with partnerships that are created out in the community. That's very, very important. At the same time, what we're doing there is we're developing the new workforce for the future. I also think it's important, in order for us to decrease the dropout rates, that we form partnerships with community-based organizations that are willing to work with our youth and their own communities. That's something that we've done within Coachella Unified School District, and we've been able to reduce the dropout rates as a result of that. Thank you.
Mr. Perez, millions in California do not have health insurance. In the past legislature attempted to pass a universal health care for all Californians. However, they failed. What is your position in this matter? Millones de californianos no cuentan con un seguro médico. La pasada legislatura intentó aprobar un plan de seguro médico universal, sin embargo, fracasaron. ¿Cuál es su postura en esta materia?
This is very personal for me. I'm currently the Director of Community Health and Advocacy for a set of federally qualified health centers. I played a large role in the creation of health clinics within our schools. We have 2 school-based clinics, one at the Western Elementary School, another school-based clinic at CV High School. We have a standalone clinic in Cathedral City, and we have many other clinics as well throughout the region. Last week, if you watched the news, we held a press conference in the city of Cathedral City for the reason that because of the budget impasse, we may have to close down our clinics. That's absurd. Many times, community-based clinics are the safety net for people who can't afford health care, for people who don't have insurance. And so we see on an ongoing basis between 3,000 to 4,000 patients on a monthly basis. As a result of this impact, we may have to close down those clinics. And so what we need to do is ensure that people have access to quality, affordable, culturally competent health care. And I've been doing that now for quite some time. And that's one of the aspects that I want to work on when I am an assembly member in the future.
Thank you very much.
Universal health care. And the difficulty with that is, at this point in time with our budget, that is going to bankrupt the state. What we need to do is make insurance affordable. We need to drive down the cost of health care. We need to have an emphasis on prevention. For example, about 50% of our youth in the Coachella Valley are overweight. 30% are obese. What that means is that there's future medical problems coming our way. And there's even now predictions that some of our parents will outlive their children because of the health care issues. We need to get serious with the prevention side to reduce the health concerns. For example, with dentists, we need to get on the prevention side with fluoride and treatment early on for children. Because if we don't, what happens is their teeth are going to abscess, they're going to get infections, and we're going to pay enormous amounts of money on the other side on the healthcare issues if we could have done some prevention. So we need to have a system of prevention, and again, we need to have incentives for business to have healthcare coverage. We need to make that available, and we give credit to businesses who will make that available to their employees. Because if we start again to drive down the business, they're going to lay off employees, they're going to be dependent on government, and it's going to again overtax the system and on the healthcare side as well. So again, it's prevention and incentives for business.
This question is for you, Mr. Jeandron. If you were the governor and the bill asking for driver license for undocumented people gets to your table, would you sign it or veto it and why? Si usted fuera el gobernador y una propuesta de ley pidiendo licencias de conducir para los indocumentados llegara a su mesa, ¿la vetaría o la firmaría en ley y por qué?
I would veto the bill. It is inconsistent policy. On one hand, we say we're a country of laws and we're a country of sovereignty. But what we say is if you do get across here and violate our laws and get across here illegally, we're then going to give you a legal driver's license. That's inconsistent policy. What my opponent has done, in my opinion, is actually start to scapegoat illegal workers by saying is if we get driver's licenses, it's going to increase safety on the road. Let me tell you, 34 years in law enforcement, the hit-and-run accidents and the people that are dangerous out there on the road are not illegal immigrants. They are United States citizens who are drunk driving. What we need to do is have an emphasis on the drunk driving and high enforcement there if you want to reduce hit-and-run accidents and if you want to have a reduction on safety in the community. We need to have a consistent policy and not have an inconsistent policy on the driver's license. Thank you. Driver's licenses for undocumented workers is a public safety issue. As a matter of fact, public safety organizations over the years throughout the state of California have seen it as this way. To keep our roads safe. We need to keep our roads safe by ensuring that drivers know how to operate a vehicle. They need to know the rules of the road, and they need to be insured. Now, my opponent has actually been attacking me on this issue. And how I see it, he's marginalizing and scapegoating immigrants. And he's also pitting neighbor versus neighbor. We need to be constructive, not be sheltered. As you mentioned before, we need to be willing to cross partisan lines. And I'm willing to do so. But this is the continuous right-wing Republican mantra that has continued over the years, and it will continue to do so. I ask the people of the 8th Pacific District to read between the lines. Don't be bamboozled. Read between the lines. And so if I was governor, I would ask that we go ahead and we pass this bill based on public safety.